Hello, I am Shireen Hashim, CEO and founder of the award-winning Fashion Community Week. We are a business and marketing platform that offers support and opportunities for emerging global fashion designers and brands. We have been established since 2014 and have launched and represented brands from 60 countries covering 6 continents. Through our platform, presenting brands take part in our exhibition, showroom, pop-up shop, conference, and of course, our famous runway shows. In the year of 2020, we have launched as an online incubator to support global fashion designers and brands. Our programs include one-on-one consulting services and workshops on business development, launch of brand from conception to birth to marketplace, a biannual conference and occasional events with industry leaders, an e-boutique platform for our fashion designers to sell their hot off-the-runway collections. And finally, placement of a virtual as well as on-site fashion week to offer exposure, PR, and marketing. I'd like to welcome you all to the opening day of our 14th season of Fashion Community Week. Today is our virtual Fashion Tech Conference taking place in a form of panel discussion with 5 fashion industry leaders, joining us to share about their discoveries, expertise, and how they are impacting the future of the fashion industry. Joining us today is Dana Burns from Boldmetrics, Billy Whitehouse from WearableX, Tony Panvel from Heurtech, Anna Francisca Michel from Yuna, and Amy Cho from Collective Number 9. Welcome to our virtual Fashion Tech Conference, and thank you for joining us from different parts of the world today. I believe the speakers are joining us from Berlin, Paris, Sydney, New York, San Francisco, and I'm also here in San Francisco, California. It is an absolute pleasure having you all on our panel today. Let us get started with the introductions, shall we? Billy, would you like to go first? Sorry, I will join with Diana, please.
That's me. Well, thank you so much for having me on the panel today. I'm Dana, the CEO and founder of Boldmetrics. And at Boldmetrics, we look at solving the problem of fit and sizing. So we work directly with brands and retailers in helping them address some of the challenges associated with consumers finding the right size, whether they're shopping in-store or online. Fit is one of the reasons when products purchased digitally is returned. And so we help to address that through our AI body modeling technology, predicting consumers' detailed body measurements, connecting that with the garments to show just how a garment will fit on that person. And as a result, we increase conversions by providing consumers with confidence on what is their best size when they're shopping, as well as reducing returns. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much, Dana. Billy, would you like to go next?
Yes, happy to. And echo that, thank you very much for having us, and great to meet you all. Such a pleasure always to be with new and interesting companies emerging out of the fashion industry. So my name is Billy Whitehouse. I'm the CEO and founder of WearableX. At WearableX, we specialize in integrating sensors and haptic feedback into textiles for wellness and fitness products. What that really means is we also have a yoga line that has embedded sensors and haptic feedback to understand your yoga posture so that we can evaluate each pose and provide you real-time vibrations as to where to focus. So we're really focused on the future of wearable technology and where fashion meet.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Billy. Tony, would you like to go next?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. So I'm Tony Pinville, the CEO and co-founder of Heurtech. And at Heurtech, our goal is to solve the overstock problem in the fashion industry. And to do that, we are able actually to anticipate the market dynamics up in 1 year in advance. And we are able to do that because we analyze what's going on social media, and we have developed a strong computer vision technology able to recognize thousands and thousands of details relative to the fashion industry. And thanks to that, we are able to forecast up in 1 year in advance and to help the brands better understand the upcoming trends and to adjust the quantity in consequence.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. Anna, would you like to go next?
Yes, hello. Amazing to meet you, everybody. I'm Anna, CEO and co-founder of Yuna AI. We are analyzing fashion data and we are providing design material. I was designer myself and I had to do all this process manually. So we changed that process to data-driven processes. And yes, we are B2B software and we are working with bigger fashion companies.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Amy? Please.
Hi there. My name is Amy. I'm the president of a collective here in Paris called Collective Number 9. We're a collective of artists, creative people. And within that collective, we have an atelier dedicated to fashion and specifically to launching of new talent, where we help them from beginning to the end with the prototype process, design, sales, lookbooks, campaigns, and line shoots right into the showroom floor.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amy. Well, thank you all for sharing a little bit about your company. Let us just dive in and let me see, who do I ask my first question? I think it's for BuildMetrics. Well, fit issues are a major problem that apparel brands face today. Sizing is the most common reason for returned apparel. A size small isn't the same across all brands, and of course, there's different size charts in different countries. While BuildMetrics uses real customer data to help change the way clothes are made. Now, could you tell us where and how this data is built?
Sure. Thanks for the question. And you're absolutely right. Fit and sizing, as I mentioned in my introduction, is one of the primary reasons for a product being returned, especially if it's purchased digitally. So it's a really big pain point for the industry, particularly as more and more consumers are moving to digital channels to acquire their garments and to make their purchase decisions. And so that's where we come in, is really helping the consumer understand what size they should buy and how it would fit on their body. And how we do that is through our core technology that underlines our size recommendations, is what we call AI body modeling. And with this technology, we can capture the consumer's detailed body measurements at a high level of accuracy through principles of AI. And we determine the critical points of measure on that consumer, their body contour, and create a unique 3D avatar for which we can extract over 50 of these body measurements. And so those body measurements forms the foundation for our understanding of the consumer. And then we connect that with information that we have about the brand on the particular per style level of the information on that garment that they're looking at, on how their body would fit into that garment. And so we know the measurements of the garment, we know the measurements of the consumer, and we can show how that person would fit across those critical points of measure that instruct fit for the garment, so that they can get an understanding of what is their best size, how it would fit across those critical points of measure. If they were going up or down a size, how that fit would change, because it's pretty common for someone, particularly in ready-to-wear sizing, to be a good fit in 2 sizes. Not everyone is perfectly one size in off-the-rack sizing. And so to show that information, and then giving the consumer the power of information to have an understanding of what the fit expectation would be as to which size that they purchase, and also to make their own subjective decisions around how they like something to fit on their body, to kind of decide if they should go up or down a size if they weren't perfectly within one size. And so anytime someone uses our toolings, whether it's through an engagement or activation in store or online, we track the purchase and returns associated with the tool. And this allows for continuous learning or feedback loop of machine learning into the system that improves the recommendations over time. But what's also really interesting for the brands and retailers that we work with is the data that we generate over time, because really it's for the first time a scalable approach for brands and retailers to capture the accurate body measurements of their customers and relate that to the sizes that are being purchased, kept in return or returned. And so all of that information is incredibly interesting for technical designers as they look at a way to bring in consumer body data and an understanding of consumer body data as it relates to their sizing tables and their gradation and their grading patterns. And so this really allows for brands and retailers to unlock the power of body data and take a data-driven approach to product design as well.
Great. And it's done, it looks like it's done individually. It's not like as a whole. It's person by person.
So it's looking at the individual consumer's body measurements. So we predict their specific body measurements, and then we can relate it to the individual product or like the style that they're looking at. So in other words, it's not, generally like translating brands, like a size in this brand translates to a size in that brand, which is pretty high level when it comes to fit. We like to really get down to the details of fit and how you as a consumer who's looking at this particular product that you're considering purchasing, how you would fit into that particular product and what would be your best size.
Great. I'll definitely have to try out your technology. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Dana. I'm definitely having, you've definitely are making me think about quite a few things that I personally have to go through when I go shopping, and I feel like I wish there were other ways to measure myself, So thank you for sharing. Now, my next question is for Wearable X. Now, while I was reading about Wearable X, it was just fascinating things. I'll just jump right to it. It looks like Wearable X intersects fashion and technology with haptic feedback. Now, could you tell us more about this haptic technology and its usability and what it's really about?
Absolutely. So haptic feedback is honestly everywhere, everywhere from a light switch to built into your telephones. It's that physical response you get when you touch the phone or when it's ringing and vibrating. We are building that same haptic technology into clothing for many different reasons, but specifically because it increases reaction time. And it's a faster reaction even than taste and smell, or sight and sound. And so we really wanted to encourage people to focus back in on their body, especially when doing a yoga pose. So the way the technology works for our particular product called Nadi X is it's all paired back with a smartphone. Your smartphone guides you both with audio and visual instructions how to work through the sequence of moving into a pose. And this really started because I had my own personal frustration of not feeling confident in my own yoga practice and knowing that there was technology out there that could measure things like step counts and running, but nothing was strategically built for understanding how my body was working and why I wasn't feeling confident moving into those poses. So in doing this, we placed 5 different accelerometers and gyros around the hips, knees, and ankles, and 10 different haptic motors into a pair of pants, which are of course washable and tumble dryable because we are in the fashion industry and that is necessary. And especially when you're practicing yoga in very warm environments, which I often do. So what this means is that as you get the audio instructions and the visual instructions, you also get the instructions on the body. So reminded of things like ground down through the back of your legs or lift up your hips when you're moving into downward dog. These are the instructions you then feel on the body. And at the end of that pose sequence, we then analyze your pose and we determine whether you've made it into the pose or if you should go back and try again.
Oh, that's fascinating. Wow. I think that I guess all the yoga studios are probably using it, or maybe they're threatened because they're like, they're not going to come, they're not going to join the yoga studio because people can just do this at home and it's sort of like a self-instructor guide. That's quite amazing. I don't know if I'm
a little different from a yoga studio experience in that it's not a traditional flow. It's very much like an Iyengar practice where you're really breaking it down so you can learn that pose properly. And then you can take that knowledge and that information and you can take it to your class. We don't necessarily want to replace anything. We want to just be a complement for those who don't have time to necessarily go to the studio and spend the full 90 minutes in a class, but want to spend that time diligently working on a particular pose.
Sure. Well, thank you, Billy. Very exciting. I'll definitely come back for more questions. My next question is for Erytech. Now, how I was just reading a little bit about Erytech, and it looks like it is a merge between fashion and technology. And so I'm just going to jump right in. How does the use of AI technology that you are utilizing assists with understanding the customer?
Yes, actually, I think social media has really changed the fashion industry, and we have a lot of trends that can emerge in social media and everywhere. It's worldwide, so it's key for the brands to really understand what's going on Instagram, on different social media. But it represents so much data. Only Instagram is per day 100 million images of shares every day. So it's almost impossible to do that manually. That's why it's very interesting to use AI to really synthesize all this information. So we use AI for first detecting in every kind of images very specific details relative to the fashion industry. So thanks to AI, we are able to detect on image specific colors, specific textures, specific shape, all the key elements that are key to understand what's going on the fashion industry. We're able to detect automatically. So we are able to analyze more than 3 million images per day. And thanks to that, we are able to understand the state of play. But the second thing is to understand the upcoming trends up in 1 year in advance. And to do that, we use also AI to forecast and to be able to detect and to anticipate these trends up in 1 year in advance. For example, to say, okay, in Japan, the tie and dye T-shirt will increase by 12%. So it's really a really useful tools to back intuition and to be able to synthesize and to forecast, anticipate the upcoming trends for the fashion brand.
Great. So it looks like Erytech is basically focused on trend forecasting, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, my day when I worked in that sector, I felt that it was more rigid, like a world trend forecast. But it looks like yours is more with your great technology. You are doing micro trends in different countries so that you understand that it's not one mass trend. It's definitely different trends in different places. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. And really our goal is also to be able to quantify these different trends, because it's not only to say, okay, the trend will be, let's say, this specific color, but also to understand for each country, each region, what will be the quantity that represents these trends, to really to have this data-driven approach to back intuition, but also to adjust the quantity. So it's really these things. That's why it's key to have this all this data and to synthesize all this data to do that.
All right, wonderful, thank you. And I believe it's more a B2B approach for Erytech, or is it also individual? B2B.
Yeah. Actually, it's really a B2B solution for a big company. Actually, we work with key leaders in the sportswear industry, luxury industry, and the fashion industry.
Of course. All right. Thank you so much. That was very interesting to learn, Tony. Now, my next question is for Yuna. Well, coming from a fashion design background, you know firsthand what the whole process of designing is. Why was it so important for you to create this automated design process? Yuna, obviously.
I was working myself as a fashion designer, and I worked in different companies, and all is done manually. me as a fashion designer, I'm working manually, and also the bigger companies. Just an example, you start a collection with having a look. What did you do before? Then you go manually to your folders. Then you have manually a look through all your clothing and all your designs, through all your color concepts. Maybe then you use something like Eurytech, and then you have a look there. So you get Excel spreadsheets, and then you combine everything in your head. And then you start working with Photoshop or different other stuff. And then you're creating patterns in 1 month. And then, for example, you need for color concept 3 months, discussing with other designers. And then it's coming out like, oh, we believe the new color could be pink. So, and then you try to sell, and then you are not selling. And then the whole process starts from the beginning. So it didn't make any sense for me. Above that, friends of mine came out with burnout of this industry, and it didn't seem really sustainable to me. So there was something missing. So I had the intention, and my vision is now, and I think the vision of the whole UNA team, to change this whole back-end process and to make it faster. So it cannot be that you do everything manually, driven by hope, and then you don't sell, and you put everything into marketing. Me as a small designer, it was like horrible. I thought, when do I get to a point when I don't know, the company is working, and the bigger companies also has the same problem. So that was the whole passion, and it's still the passion. And we're always saying blossom up digital, and that is our vision now.
Great. Well, we work with a lot of fashion designers. I don't know if you've heard earlier, we've represented designers from 60 countries. So we covered all the 6 continents. So everybody, there would be a lot of designers that will submit their collection, and it's just perfect. It's immaculate. But there were some that we had to work with because they're coming into the US market, and maybe they're coming from, let's say, Senegal, So the whole process, every time we had to tell them to go back and fix something, was pretty painful. So I hope that you are offering such a solution to cut the production time and work with efficiency for the fashion designers. So thank you for doing that. So now that we had started our conversation with all technology, fashion technology, we are now going to speak with collective number 9. Emmy, who is doing everything in-house and offering everything which is back to the norm. So it's great because it's basically one world and the other world merging together. I will just ask, according to the Atelier number 9, you claim to have the true savoir-faire essential to fuse art and commerce. Now, do share more of the statement and its process and what you are offering to the fashion designers, and why they should go with collective number 5 and number 9. Sorry, Atelier number 9. For Atelier, please correct me.
So basically, how this all started was, I originally went to school for design. My school focused mostly on mass production, actually, which I'm quite grateful for now, because the hardest thing when you start a new collection is that the fashion world is so complicated, expensive. You're dealing with not just the creative side, but international trade laws and stuff like that. So what we do is that we start from the beginning with a designer, and we focus mostly on creative fashion for the last 12 years here, which is very, very technical. And we help build a team, a bespoke team, as we call it, per client, per collection. After we choose the direction we're going to go in, we usually start with about 3 looks, and then we start contacting the sales side. So before we even start the brand, we will start contacting the sales. If you're going to, let's say, for instance, in Paris Fashion Week, if you're going to be doing during Paris Fashion Week, we will be in contact with showrooms or agents who we believe represent the market that would be good for that brand. So I've been working alongside a showroom for the past 12 years here as well. And we launch 15 new designers every season.
Wow.
We launch. And because of that, I've realized from the beginning that you really need the sales team to come in at the beginning. And because what sells to China, like you were saying earlier, will not sell to the States, will not sell to Japan, will not sell in Paris or Italy. There's a culture and a history behind the way people wear their clothes. So we go with that. And then after we all agree on the direction we're going to go, then I help them with finding the suppliers, find the right workers to join in. And I have connections to the people who are sample sewers or the pattern drafters and so forth. And then when we continue on, then it'll be with the photographers and the hair and makeup artists, and being able to find the right group of people with the quality of work that we need to launch a new brand, which is the hardest thing for a new designer to convince someone to work with. We become that bridge in between the two.
Wow, it's such a lengthy process. And how long does it take for a designer to launch with you? Is it a year and a half, or does it depend on the designer or the type of collection?
It really depends on the work experience of the designer. So if they've already gone through, let's say, 10 years in the industry, some of them can work for a big house like Givenchy or LVMH, then it's a bit faster. But if not, if they're pretty green, we usually do try to start within 1 to 2 years in advance. Because it's not on our side that doesn't know what's happening. It's us also educating and training the designer on how every step that has to be taken right into production, right into sales, and into delivery. So that's the actual lengthy process. If you do know what you're doing, and you already have partial team in place, we can launch as fast as 8 months. But that's like the fastest. That's like everyone knows what they're doing. Yeah. So yeah, 8 months.
8 months. Well, that's still a very good timeline to do everything from conception to launch. So great. Well, we'll remember 8 months.
8 months. No, that's if you know what you're doing.
We'll try to send the designers your way that knows what they're doing. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Amy. Let me see who I would like to ask my next question to. I was just looking. No, how about you, Dana? Now, I know that right now one of the hottest topics is NFT, right? Now, the fashion industry has increasingly been engaging with NFTs, and I just recently read BoldMetrics has recently unveiled the world's first body data NFT technology. Now, could you tell us more about that?
Sure. We just announced in January at the NRF conference our move into the NFT space with the world's first body data NFT. And essentially what this means, so blockchain really provides an interesting medium to authenticate information. And so we really see it as an interesting medium to authenticate a person's detailed body measurements. So if body measurements are to be acquired, say through the BoldMetrics technology, they can be stored on blockchain and authenticated through blockchain. So say if a consumer is shopping in their Web3 experience in the metaverse or on a consumer's Web3 journey, and there's some way to interface with the products and their body data information, we can have that work with, their Ethereum wallets within Coinbase or MetaMask, for example, to provide a streamlined experience for shoppers to basically connect their body data information authenticated on blockchain with that consumer product. So basically streamlining that Web3 experience. You're on mute.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much, Dana. I'm still learning about NFT, and we have a few clients who are dipping their toe into it. And to be honest, there's a lot of positive as well as a lot of challenging aspects to it. So I'm glad that you are one of the first companies that are actually taking it on, and we will see what happens. I mean, it is a whole different world. To me, it's still a bit unknown, but it's quite exciting to learn more about it.
Yeah, right now it's such early days.
Yeah.
As you know, but we are seeing a lot of these larger brands that we know of, like Nike and Adidas, getting involved in the Web3 experience and the metaverse. And I think as those experiences continue to formulate and make more sense to the end consumer, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for consumers to have a representation of themselves within those experiences through that being like an avatar, and that avatar perhaps wearing clothes that are representative of clothes that they are interested in buying in the real world. And so there's just a lot of ways that we can integrate real world experiences such as body data and fit and sizing into these digital experiences. And I think NFTs, as I mentioned, and blockchain just provide a really interesting medium to authenticate that information, and also a way to keep it secure too. So consumers have a way to sort of take ownership over their body data as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, why should we try just one avenue where we have to try something on in real time when we can actually do it in virtual? As I've mentioned, it's a whole new world, but looks like a lot of elements are emerging towards the digitization in our industry. Although I feel like we have caught on sort of late compared to the other industries, but I think we're catching on really fast because NFT is so big and starting to be so big in the fashion industry. So good work on being one of the first to incorporate that in your company.
Thank you. And I think it's still very early days for all industries. So, but it's just exciting to see the energy around it and all the innovation coming forward. So.
Thank you. Right. So let me see. I thank you, Dana, for sharing. I would like to speak with you more offline about it, to be honest. But I feel like I'd like to also have a conversation with everyone else. But we're both in San Francisco, so we can definitely connect about furthering this conversation about Bold Metrics. Let me see. Who do I ask? My next question is for Heritech. Am I saying that right? Heritech. Okay, great.
Yes.
Now, I know that earlier our conversation was the AI technology embedding for trend analysis. Now I want to know a little bit about how would someone use Heritech to help build and optimize their brand and their products?
Yes, actually, we help brands at a different step. The first step is to help the design team, really to help them to back their intuition, to say, okay, what color should I bet on? To say, okay, maybe I know that the medium green is quite trendy, but how much? So is it key for me that to produce some product around this color? Also to know better what will be the trends that are declining. So to have the macro elements to really help them to create a new product. In the next step, the goal is to help the merchandising team to improve the collection mix, really to better address future demand, and to also specify for each market to say, okay, maybe for the Europe, we have a specific element, and we need to address and to adjust our collection needs for this region. And if, for example, in Japan, it will be different, and maybe the trend is not really present now. So really, it's to improve with a data-driven approach this collection mix with really key insights that are really actionable. After that, we can really help the retail merch to help them to optimize the stock, really to adjust the stock for each product, to optimize the stock for each region, regarding the market dynamics, because we are able to analyze up in 1 year in advance. It gives a lot of insight to help them to really tackle the overstock problem. And thanks to all this detail, we can really integrate this element to optimize this element. And also for the visual merchandiser and marketer to really push in-trend products for each market, to say, okay, maybe from now in the US, I need to push the mule flat sandal because it's increased by 10% this year. And for Europe, it's more the fur flat sandals. So really key element that can really help to take the right decision for each region and to really adjust the quantity regarding each region. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So it looks like it still comes down to the forecast.
Yes, exactly.
So forecast
with this data-driven approach, and really to have quantity really elements to take the right decision. Because of course we have realized that a lot of people know the key trends, but what is key is to really quantify these trends to at the end produce the right amount of product for each trend.
Each trend. Wonderful. Thank you. I think I should also have a conversation with you offline about it. Thank you so much. One of the elements that I see, smaller designers, we work with a lot of them who are doing smaller production. This is one of the elements that they are struggling, like the trend and how they can actually produce so that it's not red tagged and something that will have a good ROI for every collection that they're building. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Let me see. My next question is for Yuna. Now, I see that the key vision of your company is to move towards digitization and sustainability. I know that sustainability is not an area we spoke about today, so I thought I will have this question to you, Yuna. So, which you have, the digitization sustainability is something that you have already integrated into your system. Now, do share with us the future goals of Yuna, which will integrate tools towards keeping up with digitization and sustainability process.
I mean, I could just quote Tony because he's saying what the companies are suffering. 30% of the goods are not sold. That's just amazing. So we have to talk later also. I mean, I believe that technology is just closing the gap in between sustainability and economic goals of this company. And if we use technology, we can be faster, more efficient in one part, even sell more if we use the right analysis like Eurytech also is doing, like we are doing, and we are closer to the trends, which is super important. We can go away from this designing like hoping and driven by hope, and we can be more performance orientated. And in the same way, we can the fashion industry is producing more CO2 than the airplane industry, and more CO2 than Germany, France, and Great Britain together. So if we cut down these processes and being shorter, wasting much less energy, we can track that even with our platform. So then technology helps that also to cut down and CO2. There's coming a new law, then the company has to pay for CO2. So they should cut down all these processes. And material companies using 4 million, like a middle range company, like Ernst Family or German middle range companies are using over 4 million kilometers of fabric. We have to calculate better. We cannot just do millions of prototypes and then they are even not receiving on the time we need it. So we have to calculate it. We have to calculate the fabrics. We have to avoid all this prototyping. We have to use 3D design. So what we are now also doing, we are providing the design material. Then you click and then you get automatically 3D design. So it's how can we, I mean, you're saying we need 2 years to prepare to have a fashion label. My kids are dying in 2 years. We cannot work like that. So I believe technology is the solution to combine sustainability and economic goals of a fashion company. I mean, I'm super creative. I studied arts before, but the solution is technology.
Thank you so much for sharing. And now that you are talking about technology as a solution, I really want to ask Amy about how do you feel about this statement that Anna just made, because yours is very more hands-on, and while Anna is, in a process where she's trying how to minimize the CO2 emission, or just basically how to minimize waste. What is your practice with production, Amy?
Well, for us, we're a bit different. I think what she focuses more on is mass production, bigger amounts of orders. But us, because we work with new designers and new talent specifically, we actually have very little waste because we can't afford to have too much fabric or things like that. And you're lucky at the beginning if you can get orders that equal 30 to 70 to 100 pieces. So when we work with us, it's more ateliers, and it's very hands-on and very specific. It is very rare that we would, at the beginning with the client, go to such a big production. I mean, that's something that would be a great thing to do. But when you work in creative fashion, it's a very specific market, and the orders are a bit smaller than something like that.
Wonderful. And so basically the production happens right when they get the order after reviewing the samples.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's amazing, because we also strictly focus on working with fashion designers who are doing smaller capsule collection and micro collections as well, so this way it's faster, smaller units, and basically they also have a buyer base. So it's really really great. Thank you, Amy, for sharing. Now my next question is for Wearable X. Now I know we're talking about technology and sustainability, and of course, wearables definitely has a big role in this conversation. And I want to know, where do you think the future of wearable industry is going?
Yeah, it's a fabulous question, and I think as designers and technologists, all of us here, we all have our own responsibility to build the world that we want to live in. And I think that to me is like the first sort of big hump to tackle. It's like, let's build a world that we believe in, that has the morals that we believe in, and where that specifically applies to wearable technology, I truly believe that it's going to become invisible and integrate into our everyday objects and become absolutely integrated into what makes our human experience human. And that is a strange line, because people often don't exactly know what truly makes us a human experience, but it comes down to, connection and living well and having one-on-one experiences, but living in the real world as well as the digital world. And I think we all acknowledge now that that is a reality of where we're headed. So how do we make sure we build for those experiences that make us live well? And I truly believe that means that the technology will fade into the background. It will become more silent, more invisible, and hopefully more delightful for humans.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, every season we have one or two surprise questions that we always like to sort of ask the speakers, and I just had one general question. Anybody can answer this. Now, with as like our main conversation was basically talking about the future of fashion, right? So now, with much of our world being virtual right now, and of course we're coming back to the real world, but it looks like the virtual aspect is still here to sort of stay. Now, do you think this is going to push more of the fashion industry to be influenced by technology? And if so, do you think these changes are going to have long-lasting effects? And what do you think that we will see in the future for our industry? Anyone can answer this.
I'd love to jump in. There's no doubt that all industries are moving into this digital era. And in particular with the apparel industry, the dominant consumer age now is, the millennials, even now the younger millennials, as well as the Generation Z coming to dominate consumer age. And these consumers are really digital first in their thinking. And so, the natural thought isn't to necessarily go to stores, but really to go to the website first. So having a digital first strategy within the apparel industry is really paramount to basically provide great, exceptional experiences to their consumers, because the consumers are digital first in thinking. And so there's in the realm of this digital era, there's just so many different technological plays to improve that consumer experience, that end-to-end consumer experience. And of course, like with what we've been talking about with Bold Metrics around the issue of returns, and sort of wanted to touch upon what Anna was talking about with CO2 emissions and the apparel industry being a big offender there. So as the world moves more and more digital and consumers purchasing more and more of their products, and particularly apparel products online, the issue of returns becomes a bigger and bigger issue and offender of hurting the environment. Because a lot of people actually don't talk about this, but most of the time, a big percentage of the time, returns do end up in a landfill. And so BBC Earth just did a piece on that last year in April 2021, showing that approximately 5 billion pounds of landfill waste is generated through apparel returns alone annually. So you can imagine. And also, of course, all of the shipping back and forth of product lends to roughly 15 million metric tons of carbon dioxide contributed to the atmosphere from apparel returns alone annually, right? So as the world moves more and more into this digital first era and, meeting our consumer demands through digital channels, there needs to be technology in place, not only, as I mentioned, to improve the consumer experience, but also to address some of these issues that could end up being sort of detrimental, to the environment as we move more digital. And so I think there's just so much opportunity for technology to be integrated throughout the experiences of this digital first world that we're moving into.
Right. Thank you so much, Dana. And I just feel like even just 5 years ago, a lot of the designers and brands that we work with was not so much integrated into technology. We're in Silicon Valley, so for us, it's just normal. But really stepping out to other, even major cities of the world, it makes me realize that, wow, we have a lot of catching on to do. And how can we also educate other brands to basically, use just minimal technology? I mean, like today, our conversation, look at all the people we have. We have the solution in our panel discussion today. I mean, this is just wonderful. And I just feel that more and more people can be maybe open to integrating technology, because it's really going to help with especially the environmental aspect in our industry. Well, it looks like this is all the time we had for today. I just wanted to thank you all for joining us and sharing about your work and expertise with us. And I would also like to thank our audience for joining us to be part of the 14th season of our Fashion Week. Now, join us tomorrow, March 11th, on our on-site Fashion Week party, and on March 12th, for our on-site runway show featuring 6 global fashion designers. And finally, on March 13th, virtually, to view a new experience fashion show featuring this season's collection. For details, lives, replays, and for future Fashion Community Week events, please visit our Instagram, Facebook, website, LinkedIn at Fashion Community Week. And we look forward to seeing you all this week at the 14th season of our Fashion Community Week. Thank you.